What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at, well, legacy cards. You see, somebody whose name I'm going to actually find in a minute, and I'm going to put it on the screen, it's going to be lovely, has gone and shared some information in the Keyforge group about legacy cards. And they've linked us to a very handy list that shows us how often each particular card has shown up as a legacy. And I thought this was rather interesting and kind of cool, and exactly the kind of thing that we should be having a little bit of a look at. So I thought we would. That was Luke Olson. Shout out to Luke Olson for being awesome. Now, one thing we need to shout out right off the bat here, what a legacy card actually is. A legacy card is a card which has come in from old sets. So there is no such thing as a legacy card in Call of the Archons, because Call of the Archons was the first set. You couldn't bring in cards from the previous set. When I say cards from the previous set, I mean cards from the previous set which aren't in the current set. So someone like Ronnie Wristclocks cannot be a legacy card in Worlds Collide, because Ronnie Wristclocks is in Worlds Collide. But it's any card that shouldn't be in there. So take Time Traveler, for instance. Time Traveler was in Call of the Archons. Time Traveler was in Age of Ascension. Time Traveler was not in Worlds Collide. So the only way you could get Time Traveler in Worlds Collide is as a legacy card. Anyone wondering how many times it's turned up as a legacy card in Worlds Collide? 15. There are, now when I say turned up, I mean registered decks. There is no way to know with unregistered decks. It is impossible. Well, not unless you've got access to Keyforge's algorithm, which I don't think anyone that's got access to will ever share. But in terms of registered decks, we have 15, making it the 324th most common legacy card. Now, bearing in mind there's only 350 that we've seen as legacy cards, shall we say it's down the list. But it's a great card, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Another thing that's worth mentioning here, we have also had exactly 15 legacy Help from Future Self. And this is something else we need to point out when talking about legacy cards. There are sometimes rules. So Help from Future Self is a special rare card. It always comes with Time Traveler. Help from Future Self is a special rare. Lets you search your deck or discard pile for a Time Traveler, reveal it and put it into your hand. Time Traveler is a rare, but anytime you get a Time Traveler, you also get Help from Future Self. If you get 2 Time Travelers, you get 2 Help from Future Self, etc. So that's exactly the same. So I'm going to tell you our number 1 most common legacy card here, but we're cheating a little bit. It is Niffleape. There have been 784 Niffleape. Here's the thing though. There's only been 143 Niffle Queen. How does that work? Because Niffle Queen always comes with at least a couple of Niffleape. So it's a little bit cheating to, I mean, it is the top one, let's be clear. It is officially the most common of them, but it's cheating a little bit. In the same way, the second most common is Urchin with 466. But having said that, Fagin, there's 63. Because Fagin tends to come along with Urchin. I believe the rule is that you can have Urchin without Fagin, but anytime you get Fagin, you get 2 Urchin. Possibly more. So the point is that these cards that always come as 2 with another card and can come as their own, Niffleape, Urchin, yeah, they're unfortunately they're going to come around quite often. Boo Hiss, etc. And one of my favourites, Ancient Bear, is in number 3 with 382. But then again, it always comes when you get Bear Flute, and there's been 66 Bear Flute as well. So again, you can't really count that. In terms of the most common that don't have special rules attached to them, now, if there are special rules that I've missed, please do let me know. It's Ganymede Archivist. Now, One thing we will say is that Ganymede Archivist is only in Call of the Archons, and a card is more likely to turn up as a legacy card if it's only in Call of the Archons, because it could be a legacy in Age of Ascension, or it could be a legacy in Worlds Collide. There are 2 sets in which you could get it as a legacy, so there's more chances. It doesn't mean it's going to appear in Age of Ascension necessarily more often than anything else, but it means it could be in Age of Ascension, or it could be in Worlds Collide. Other very common ones we see are Noddy the Thief, the Terror, Hunting Witch, and Mermook. As a side note, Hunting Witch, phenomenal legacy card, because of course it says that every time you play a creature while it's down, you get an extra amber. It's a phenomenal card. Any good card you really want coming along as a legacy card. We also see Dr. Escatera, Crump, Gateway to Dis, Warsong, Dexter, Hand of Dis, Dew Fairy, Succubus, Vigor, and Bumpsy, and that rounds out all the cards that have come up over 325 times. So they're the ones that come up commonly. Which ones don't? Now, the other thing to point out at the bottom of this list, obviously the unregistered decks can make more of a difference. When we've got cards that have come up less than 10 times as legacy, all it would take is half a dozen of these decks to be sold and not registered, played by casual players, etc., who didn't bother registering in the app, and that would skew the results. But there are 3 cards that have only ever appeared as a legacy once. And there are some similarities between them. We've got Protect of the Weak, we've got Bordan the Redeemed, and we've got Hallowed Shield. What do they all have in common? They're all Sanctum cards. For some reason, they're all Sanctum cards. Well, hang on a second. Because you see, there is another explanation as to why Sanctum cards might turn up a little bit less often. And that is because Sanctum is not in Worlds Collide. Now, you can still get Sanctum, and incidentally Mars is the other one. You can still get Sanctum and Mars cards in World Collide, but in order to do that, they have got to be both a Legacy and a Maverick at the same time. That is to say, they have got to appear in the wrong set and the wrong house. Clearly can happen. These 3 have turned up as legacy cards. But make no mistake about it, that makes them significantly rarer. Though it is very interesting to note that we don't have any Mars cards down on this list. And what is even weirder here is that Protect the Weak, Born and the Redeemed, and Hallowed Shield all come in with 1 appearance. And then the other 3 that have come in less than 10, we've got the Sting with 8, Red Hot Armor with 9, and Pit Lord with 9. And the converse of something we said earlier is true here. If they are cards which were in Call of the Archons and Age of Ascension, they are therefore less likely to turn up as legacy cards, because the only way they can turn up as legacy cards is if they're in Worlds Collide. There is only actually 1 set where they can turn up as legacy cards. I don't think we're missing a huge amount on any of these. Although Pit Lord, it's not very good as a legacy. It's great as a Maverick. Double amber bonus, 9 power creature with taunt, but it forces you to choose Dis. But if it's a Maverick now, you actually can't choose Dis, so you basically just ignore that part of the card, and it just becomes essentially houseless, or no. Still got a house. Still in your house, but it doesn't force you into a house. It's just a double amber bonus 9 power creature with taunt. That is pretty gosh darned good. Now, I have been lucky enough to pull a deck with a legacy card. I did pull a deck with a legacy Novu Archaeologist in Worlds Collide, which was very nice. I was very happy about that. Made me day a little bit. They don't come up all that often. It's not something we see constantly, but it makes the decks a little bit special. But they are not all created equally. Some of them are better than others, some of them are rarer than others, and it's one of those things we'll probably never have the full story for. Does this mean that some of them are programmed to appear more often? Maybe. I have given you a few factors in this video that would affect the likelihood of a card coming up as a legacy. The reality is we don't know. Hopefully one day we'll get the full answers. But I thought this was rather interesting, and I thought some of you might find this rather interesting. So there we go. If you've got any other facts or figures or things of that nature that you want to share about Keyforge, I'd be delighted to hear them. Otherwise, just tell me what you think about all this stuff in here. Go nuts in the comment section, but please remember the rules. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Transformers and Keyforge and Final Fantasy and Morn Destiny and all those good things. Just games. We talk about games. It's a lot of fun. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.